You're out. Don't come back. We're moving forward without you. That was my mother's voice, flat, prepared, final, on a voicemail she left at 9:47 on a Tuesday night. No argument before it, no warning, just a 31-second message that erased 27 years of being the daughter who paid every bill, handled every crisis, and never once refused. I listened twice. Then I texted back one word, okay. What my family didn't know was that okay wasn't surrender. It was permission, my permission to myself to stop being their safety net. Within 72 hours, the family trust was frozen. The house deal collapsed, and their lawyer was leaving messages I had no intention of answering. By morning, there were 46 missed calls and a text from their attorney. We have a serious problem. I laughed and replied, before I continue, if this story connects with you, take a moment to like and subscribe and share your location and local time in the comments. I'd love to know where you're listening from. My name is Vivian. I'm 27. Now let me take you back to that Tuesday evening in October, the night that voicemail changed everything. I was sitting cross-legged on my bed in a studio apartment in Philadelphia, laptop on a pillow, finishing a risk assessment report for a client whose portfolio showed warning signs everywhere. That was my job, identifying risk before it arrived. The irony wasn't lost on me. My phone buzzed on the nightstand. One missed call from Mom, then a voicemail notification. I almost didn't play it. My mother rarely called me directly. She called Brooke, my younger sister, the one who still lived 20 minutes from our parents, the one whose name appeared in every family group chat like a headline. When Mom needed something from me, it was usually a short text. Call me back. Or send money, please. But a voicemail felt different. Personal, so I pressed play. Her voice came through steady and clear as if rehearsed. Vivian, this is your mother. I want you to know we've made a decision as a family. You are no longer welcome here. Don't come back. Don't make this harder than it needs to be. We're moving on without you. 31 seconds. I watched the playback bar. I played it again, expecting a reason, a because, a since, even and after what you did. There was nothing. Just the decision. No explanation. I opened the family group chat, the one Brooke created 2 Christmases ago, where Mom shared casserole recipes and Dad sent blurry backyard bird photos. I'd been removed, not muted. Removed. And the chat had been renamed. It used to be Owen's Fam. The new name was Us. So that was what I'd become, the opposite of us. I placed the phone face down and stared at a framed photo on my shelf, our family at Brooke's college graduation. Mom smiling. Dad's hand on Brooke's shoulder. Me at the edge, partly cut off by whoever took the picture. I should have recognized the pattern. For 10 minutes, I did nothing. Just sat there, hands in my lap, listening to my upstairs neighbor's TV laugh track through the ceiling. Someone was watching a sitcom while my family had quietly removed me from theirs. My first instinct was the old one. Call back, apologize, though I didn't know for what, ask what I'd done, promise to fix it. That had been my role since I was 14. Absorb blame, repair the damage, keep the peace. My thumb hovered over Mom's name. Then something stopped. Maybe it was her tone, not angry, not hurt, prepared, or maybe it was the timing. I'd spent the entire afternoon recalculating the mortgage on the family house, the house I paid for, the house where Brooke slept in the master bedroom while I used the pull-out couch when I visited. I lowered my thumb and opened our text thread instead. I typed one word, okay, added a period, sent it, delivered, then silence. No typing dots, no callback. She expected me to chase. When I didn't, there was no script. I didn't sleep that night. Not from sadness, that came briefly around 3 a.m., sharp and short. I stayed awake because my mind did what it always does under pressure. It organized. I opened a new spreadsheet, Family Financial Obligations, V. Owens. Column A, item. Column B, monthly amount. Column C, duration. Column D, total. Line by line, the cost of being the dependable daughter appeared. Mortgage, $1,850 per month. 3 years, $66,600. Health insurance for Mom and Dad, $640 monthly for 2.5 years. 19,200ers. Brooke's car loan, the white SUV from her blessed Instagram post, $380 monthly for 14 months. $5,020. Then the emergencies. Dad's surgery copay, the roof repair. Brooke's security deposit when she moved out, then back, then out again. Mom's dental bill that went to collections. By 2 a.m., everything was on one screen. I leaned back and looked at the bold total in the corner, $143,240, more than my annual salary over 6 years, for people who had just cut me off with a voicemail. But the number wasn't the worst part. When I opened the supporting documents in my cloud folder, the details were clear. I was co-signer on the mortgage. My name was on the deed as co-owner. I was the sole trustee of my grandmother's trust, $86,000 for family education and medical needs, because she trusted me with money. Every major financial structure in my family ran through my name. They told me to leave, but I was the foundation. I printed everything: receipts, statements, contracts. The printer hummed in the dark apartment. I wasn't angry yet. That would come later. For now, I was alert, fully alert. Morning arrived, gray and cold. October in Philadelphia, the kind of sky that feels like a ceiling. I made coffee automatically, logged into the joint household account, and noticed the change immediately. The contact email had been replaced. Mine was gone. In its place, Brooks. The change was dated 2 days before the voicemail. 2 days. I sat still and let that settle. My sister had changed the contact information on my financial account before my mother recorded that message. The voicemail wasn't emotional. It was planned. In my inbox, buried under work emails, I found another notice from the title company. Beneficiary amendment. Confirmation pending. The request removed my name from the property deed. Submitted by Brooke as authorized family representative. I had never authorized anyone. My coffee went cold. The picture was clear. Brooke didn't want me out of the family. That was the cover. She wanted me removed from the paperwork, from the deed, the trust, every document proving I built what they depended on. The voicemail was distraction. The real move was administrative. And there's something important about me. I work in risk analysis. I identify fraud patterns for a living. My sister had just made a serious mistake. To understand how this started, you have to go back further. Not to the voicemail. The beginning was quieter. It started in a kitchen. I was 14. Brooke was 10. At the start of summer, our parents explained the plan. Brooke would attend art camp, 4 weeks, $300. I would stay home to supervise her before and after camp, cook lunch, do laundry, and manage the house while our parents worked. I asked about math camp at the community college. It was free. I qualified. Mom shook her head. Someone has to be here for your sister. It's free, I said. Vivian, you're the older one. You understand. I understood. Brooke had summers. I had responsibility. My grades weren't celebrated. They were viewed as future income. When I made honor roll that fall, Mom said, "Good. Keep it up. One of you needs to make real money someday." When Brooke failed her exams, the whole family comforted her. Ice cream. Reassurance. "You're more than a test score, baby." I heard it from the next room. No one said anything like that to me. Not because I was failing, but because I was considered strong. Mom confirmed it during my sophomore year of college when I mentioned feeling overwhelmed. "You're the strong one, Vivian. Brooke needs me more." 7 words. I carried them for years. My first paycheck came the summer after graduation. I felt proud for a few hours. That evening, Mom called. Dad had injured his back. Hospital bill, $2,000. Could I help? I sent it immediately. 3 weeks later, Brooke needed a $1,200 security deposit for her apartment. I asked if she had savings. Silence. Then, "She's your baby sister, she's just starting. How can you even ask that?" I sent the money. My student loans, $38,000, were never discussed. No one asked. The assumption was simple. Vivian manages. That first year, I sent nearly $14,000 home. Not at once, small amounts, constant requests, always urgent. Always temporary. Temporary became monthly. And in all that time, no one said thank you. Not once. Not at Thanksgiving, when I flew home on a budget airline and sat at a table I had helped rebuild financially. Not on my birthday that year. Mom forgot. That same week, she posted an old photo of Brooke on Facebook. 2 months later, for Brooke's birthday, there was a party at the house, and I was asked to order and pay for the cake. In the final month of that year, I ate ramen for 9 straight days because my checking account was empty. I didn't tell anyone. If I had, Mom would have said I was being dramatic, and at the time, I believed her. That's the part that stayed with me. 3 years before the voicemail, Mom called with what she described as a family opportunity. She and Dad wanted to buy a house, a 3-bedroom outside the city, quieter neighborhood, better schools nearby for future grandchildren. She presented it like a dream they had earned. The situation was simpler. Their credit was damaged, medical debt from dad, an old missed car payment, a collections account mom had ignored until it became a judgment. No lender would approve them. So mom asked, "Just co-sign, Vivian. Your credit is excellent. The house will be in my name, but you'll be on the loan and the deed. It's the family home. One day it will belong to both you girls." I agreed. I didn't hire a lawyer. I didn't request any written agreement beyond the mortgage documents. The message in my head, the one shaped over years, said family doesn't need contracts. If you ask for one, you don't trust them. And if you don't trust them, you're not family. I signed as co-signer on the mortgage and co-owner on the deed, though mom was listed as primary owner. From that month forward, the one May $850 payment came out of my account regularly. Brooke moved in immediately, took the largest bedroom, decorated it, and posted photos captioned, "Home Sweet Home." When I visited, which was rare because I was working overtime to cover the payments, I slept on the pull-out sofa in the den. I was paying for a house where I stayed on a couch. About 6 months before the voicemail, I overheard something during a family call. Mom was speaking to Brooke in the background. She didn't realize I was still connected. "Once we refinance, we can pull equity out. Don't worry about Vivian. I'll handle her." Handle me? Like an expense, like an issue to manage. I didn't confront it. I told myself I had misunderstood, but my hands were shaking when I ended the call. My grandmother, Mom's mother, passed away 4 years ago after a rapid illness. 2 months before she died, she updated her trust. She set aside $86,000 for family education and medical needs and named one trustee. Not Mom. Not Brooke. Me. I remember the attorney reading it aloud and Mom's expression changing. She didn't object in the office. Later in the car, she said, "Your grandmother didn't understand how things work. That money should be managed by the family together." "I am the family, Mom," I said. She didn't respond. The trust remained untouched for 3 years. Then Brooke asked for $15,000 for a business idea, an online resale shop she'd seen on social media. There was no plan, no projections, just enthusiasm and a supplier link. I declined, not to hurt her, but because the trust terms were clear: education and medical expenses only. Not startup capital. Brooke cried and called Mom. Then Mom called me. "Your grandmother would have wanted to help Brooke. You're being controlling." "I'm following the trust document," I said. "That's my legal responsibility." Brooke didn't speak to me for 2 months. During that time, a cousin told me Brooke had been telling relatives I was holding on to Grandma's money for myself. I didn't correct the story. I was tired of defending myself. 2 months before the voicemail, Brooke called and said she wanted to clear the air. Her tone was warm, unusually friendly. We talked for about 40 minutes, and at one point she said, "Honestly, Viv, I just need you out of the trust and off the deed. Then everything will be easier for everyone." She said it as if stepping aside from my own financial responsibility was a reasonable request. What she didn't realize was that the call was recorded. I record long family calls automatically as part of a professional habit. Any call over 10 minutes with a family contact is saved with a disclosure tone at the beginning. Whether she noticed or not, I kept the file in 3 places: cloud storage, a USB drive, and an email to myself titled "Just in Case." That night, one question stayed with me. Why did Brooke need me removed so badly? We grew up in the same home. I made her lunches. I co-signed her first car. Yet somehow, I had become the obstacle in a story she created without telling me. Wednesday morning, 2 days after the voicemail, I arrived at the office looking exhausted. Marcus Webb noticed immediately. He was a senior CPA, calm, methodical, and someone clients trusted with difficult situations. We had worked together many times. He wasn't intrusive by nature, but that morning he asked questions. When I returned from the break room, he was standing near my desk. My laptop was open. The spreadsheet, Family Financial Obligations, V. Owens, was visible, with the total highlighted at the bottom. He looked at the screen, then at me. "Viv," he said quietly, "I don't want to overstep, but that spreadsheet, is that money you're owed or money you gave?" I could have said it was a client file, but I had slept 4 hours, and the way he asked, direct, without judgment, made it easier to answer. I gave him the outline. The voicemail being removed from the group chat, the house, the trust, the total amount. Marcus didn't react emotionally. He became very quiet. After about 10 seconds, he said, "I've been through something similar. Different details, same structure. My father did this when I was 29. The advice I wish I'd received sooner is this: don't call them back. Call a lawyer." He wrote a name on a sticky note and handed it to me. Janet Aldridge, real estate and trust attorney. "She's good," he added. "She's the reason I didn't lose my house." I put the note in my wallet. It stayed there for 7 hours, the time it took for me to discover something else. That evening, I reviewed every document I had, the way I would review a client file, looking for inconsistencies. I reopened the title company email requesting my removal from the deed. This time, I examined the attachment carefully. The form was standard. At the bottom were 2 signature lines: Donna Owens, primary owner, and Vivian Owens, co-owner. Both were signed. I zoomed in on my signature. It looked close, similar slant, similar size, even the small tail I add to the N in Vivian. But the capital O in Owens was wrong. I write it with an open loop. This one was closed. Someone had studied my signature and forged it. The submission details showed the form was sent electronically by Brooke, listed again as authorized family representative. The submission date was 3 days before the voicemail. The timeline became clear. First, the forged document removing me from the deed. Then the contact email change on the joint account. Only after those steps did Mom leave the voicemail. This wasn't an emotional breakdown. It was a sequence. Remove me from the paperwork first, then remove me from the family so I wouldn't be watching the documents. In my work, plans like that always leave a trail. The next morning, I called Janet Aldridge. Once I mentioned forged signature and pending title amendment, her assistant connected me within minutes. Her office was in a converted brownstone near Rittenhouse Square. Shelves lined the walls. The chair was firm, the environment structured. She offered water. I declined. I wanted clarity, not comfort. I placed the folder on her desk. Mortgage documents, the deed, the forged amendment, the title company email, my financial spreadsheet showing $143,000 in contributions, and the bank notification confirming Brooke had changed the account contact email. Janet reviewed each page carefully, comparing the forged signature with my original from the mortgage documents. After a few minutes, she removed her glasses and looked at me. "Miss Owens," she said, "you have 2 problems and 1 advantage." She pointed to the amendment. "Problem 1, someone committed fraud using your identity. The signature discrepancy supports a forgery claim." She pointed to the title notice. "Problem 2, a refinance is in progress on a property you co-own without your knowledge or consent. That's serious." Then she paused. "Your advantage is straightforward. You are the co-signer. You are the co-owner, and you are the sole trustee of the family trust. Nothing, neither the refinance nor the title change, not a single dollar from the trust, moves without your actual signature, and your real signature was the one thing they couldn't obtain." I sat with that for a moment, then asked the question that had been building since Tuesday night. What happens if I stop? Stop paying the mortgage? Stop signing documents? Stop being the infrastructure? Janet folded her hands. Then the entire system stalls under its own weight. The bank issues a notice, the refinance fails, the trust remains locked. Every financial arrangement they rely on pauses until you decide otherwise. She let that settle, then added calmly, "There's one more thing you should know. A forged signature on a deed amendment isn't only a civil issue. In Pennsylvania, it can be charged as a felony. I'm not saying you need to pursue that, but you should understand that option exists." That night in my apartment, I opened the recording app on my phone. I hadn't listened to Brooke's call since it happened 2 months earlier. At the time, I filed it as irritating but harmless, Brooke using a soft tone to get what she wanted. Now, with the full context, it sounded different. I put in my earbuds and pressed play. Her voice was warm and casual, the tone she uses when she's building toward a request. "I'm just saying, Viv, you're so busy. You've got your career, your apartment, your whole life there. Wouldn't it be easier if you stepped back a little? Let Mom handle the trust and the house? Honestly, if your name wasn't on it, you wouldn't have to worry about the payments anymore. That would be a relief, right?" At the time, I thought she was being awkward, not intentional. Then came the line at minute 32. I just need you out of the trust and off the deed. Then everything gets simpler for everyone. I paused, rewound, and played it again. Need, not want, not maybe, need. She had stated her objective clearly into a call that began with a recording disclosure she either ignored or didn't notice. When I didn't step aside voluntarily, my signature was forged and Mom delivered the removal message framed as a family decision. I saved the file again, cloud, USB, and an email to myself. 3 copies. In my family, facts tend to disappear. I didn't know when I would use it, but I understood its value. That recording was the one piece Brooke didn't know I had, and I intended to use it at the appropriate time. Friday afternoon, I returned to Janet's office. I had filled a legal pad front and back. She had one as well. Let's go through this step by step, she said. What you can do, what your rights are, and what the consequences may be for them and for you. Step 1. Notify the bank that the deed amendment contained a forged signature. Janet would send a formal letter with supporting evidence, my authentic signature from the original mortgage compared to the forged one. The bank would be required to freeze the refinance during the investigation. Step 2. As sole trustee, I had full authority to freeze all trust distributions. No court order, no family approval. One signature and one call would place $86,000 into lockdown. Step 3. Stop the automatic mortgage payments. I was cosigner, not the primary borrower. Donna was primary. If I stopped paying, full responsibility would revert to her. Given her credit position, the bank would issue a notice within 30 days. If payments weren't made or refinanced independently, foreclosure proceedings could begin. Step 4. A cease and desist letter formally withdrawing me from all shared financial obligations, effective immediately. I listened to each step and then asked the question that mattered most. If they lose the house? Janet answered without hesitation. Vivian, they told you to leave. You're leaving. You're not taking the house. You're removing yourself from a loan they cannot support without you. If that causes a collapse, the structure was never stable. I signed the authorization. The pen felt heavier than expected, not from doubt, but from finality. There would be no quiet reversal, no late call to restore the old pattern. I wasn't destroying the bridge. I was simply no longer standing in the middle of it. Monday morning, during lunch, I went to the bank that managed my grandmother's trust. The branch was quiet, low music playing, fluorescent lights humming. I met with a trust officer named Dan. I presented my documentation, ID, trustee authorization, the original trust instrument, and Janet's letter. Dan reviewed everything carefully, clicking his pen repeatedly. You are the sole trustee, he confirmed. No co-trustees, no secondary signatories. What would you like to do? I'd like a full freeze on all distributions effective immediately. No withdrawals, transfers, or disbursements without my written authorization. He asked for the reason. I have concerns about potential unauthorized access and want to review activity before allowing movement. That explanation fit compliance language. He processed the request, printed a form, and I signed. $86,000 secured. You'll receive confirmation within the hour, he said. No one can access these funds without your written and notarized authorization. Outside, the October air felt sharp. What I noticed wasn't satisfaction. It was relief, the feeling of setting down a weight I had carried for years without acknowledging it. Tuesday, Janet's paralegal sent 3 emails before noon. The first went to the mortgage lender, formal notice of signature fraud, with side-by-side comparison, and my sworn affidavit. It requested an immediate hold on all property-related transactions. The second notified the lender that I was terminating automatic payment authorization as cosigner, citing unauthorized actions initiated by the primary borrower. The third went to my family as a formal cease and desist. It stated that I was withdrawing from all shared financial obligations and that future communication should go through Janet Aldridge. 3 emails, 12 attachments, 3 clicks. By 4 p.m., the lender responded. The refinance was frozen pending investigation. The deed amendment was flagged. No title changes would proceed. I sat in my car after work, engine off, hands steady on the wheel. The feeling wasn't fear. It was the awareness of permanence. Within days, the effects would reach them. The missed payment, the canceled refinance, the locked trust, the upcoming insurance notices. Every financial support system I had maintained was no longer in place. I drove home through Philadelphia traffic with the windows down and waited for the calls. It took 51 hours. Thursday morning, my phone began vibrating continuously. After finishing my work file, I turned it over. 19 missed calls from Mom, 8 from Dad, 14 from Brooke, 5 from an unknown number, 46 total. The messages were direct. Mom, call me now. This isn't a game. Something happened with the bank. Fix this. Brooke, what did you do? Brooke, the refinance is frozen. They said your lawyer contacted them. Dad, please call back. Your mother is upset. Then an email from the unknown number, formal letterhead. Gregory Pratt, attorney representing Donna Owens, requesting an immediate discussion regarding actions affecting his client's financial interests. At the bottom, we have a serious problem. I read it again, leaned back and laughed, not out of anger, but at the contrast. For 6 years, I answered every call immediately. Now 46 calls had gone unanswered. I forwarded the email to Janet with a single line. Let's schedule the meeting. Brooke didn't wait. Her messages arrived throughout the afternoon. Viv, you need to undo this. Mom is panicking. This isn't about us. This is about the family. We were upset. People say things when they're upset. And finally, you're being extremely selfish right now. I read each message carefully, not to understand them, but to document the pattern one last time. First, deflection. Focus on what I did. Second, family pressure. Use Mom and Dad to trigger guilt. Third, minimization. Reframe the voicemail as emotional rather than planned. And beneath it all, the attempt to erase the forged signature, the changed account access, and the sequence that led here. Message 4. The label selfish, the word I had been trying to escape since I was 14. 4 messages, no apologies, no reference to the voicemail, no mention of the forged signature, and nothing about the deed amendment she filed under my name without my permission. Same Brooke, same strategy, only louder now that the stakes were higher. I replied with one message, have your lawyer contact mine. I attached Janet's business card as a contact file. 30 seconds of silence. Then the 3 gray dots appeared, disappeared, and appeared again. Are you serious right now? I closed the app and set the phone face down on the counter. One final message from Brooke appeared in the notification before I muted the thread. Fine, but don't blame me for what happens next. I almost smiled. That line was the most honest thing Brooke had said in years. She was already planning her next move and wanted protection in advance. The difference now was that I was planning too, and my plans included documentation. Friday evening, I was making dinner. Pasta, nothing elaborate, just something to keep my hands busy. Then my phone rang, Dad's number. I answered immediately. The last time he called twice in 1 week, he had gone to the ER. Habit took over. The responsible daughter answering the responsible call. But it wasn't Dad. Vivian Marie Owens. Mom's voice. Full name. The tone she used when she wanted me to feel 11 again. I don't know what's gotten into you, but you are destroying this family. Your father hasn't slept in 3 days. The bank sent a letter about the mortgage. The insurance company says our coverage is ending. And now Brooke tells me you're hiding behind a lawyer like we're strangers. I turned the burner down to low. Mom, you left me a voicemail telling me not to come back. I'm doing what you asked. That was because I was upset. You know how I get. But this, freezing accounts, stopping payments, this is you being deliberately vindictive. I stopped paying for things that aren't mine anymore. You said I'm not family. If I'm not family, I'm not financially responsible for the family. Silence. 2 beats. 3. After everything I sacrificed for you, after all the years I spent raising you, this is how you repay me? There it was, the familiar script, the guilt that had kept me writing checks for 6 years. I sacrificed. You owe me. The permanent family ledger where my balance was always negative. Mom, I'm not repaying anything. I'm done paying. There's a difference. Her breath sharpened. You will regret this, Vivian. One day, you'll look back at this moment and feel ashamed. Maybe. But if I feel ashamed, it will be for my own reasons, not because you told me to. I ended the call and set the phone beside the stove. My hands were shaking. The pasta water boiled over, hissing across the burner. I wasn't crying, or if I was, it wasn't from guilt. It was the kind of grief that comes when you finally accept that the mother you kept hoping for never existed. And no amount of mortgage payments was ever going to create her. I turned off the burner. I wasn't hungry anymore. One thing stood out in the quiet kitchen, steam rising around me. Mom hadn't mentioned the forged signature. Not once. Either she didn't know what Brooke had done, or she knew and chose to ignore it. I wasn't sure which was worse. Saturday morning, my phone turned into a bulletin board from people I hadn't heard from in months. Aunt Helen texted first. "Honey, your mother is beside herself. Whatever this disagreement is, can't you just talk it out? She says you're trying to take the house." Then Uncle Robert heard some things. Remember, family comes first. Don't let money ruin what matters. Then a cousin I'd met twice. "Hey, Vivian, not sure what's going on, but Brooke seems really hurt. Maybe call your mom." Message after message, all morning, all carrying the same invisible source. I opened Facebook. I hadn't posted in weeks, but I already suspected what I'd find. Brooke's latest update, posted the night before. When your own blood turns their back on you over money, family should never be about transactions. Some people only care about control. Praying for healing. 47 likes, 22 comments, hearts, prayer emojis, and stay strong from people who didn't know the facts. Aunt Helen had commented, "We love you, sweetie. The truth always comes out." Yes, I thought, it does. My chest tightened, the old reflex kicked in, the urge to explain, to correct the story, to post my side with spreadsheets, timestamps, the forged signature, and the voicemail. I typed 3 different responses, deleted all 3. Then I remembered what Marcus had told me over coffee 2 days earlier, when I admitted I was afraid of becoming the villain in Brooke's version. "Don't fight the narrative on their turf," he said. "Bring the truth to the right room." The right room wasn't Facebook, not a group chat, not a phone call. Mom could end when the facts became uncomfortable. The right room had a table, lawyers, and documents where emotion couldn't override evidence, and I'm the victim had to compete with timestamps. I closed Facebook, opened my email, and wrote to Janet, "I think it's time for a meeting." All of them. Face to face, with everything we have. She replied 11 minutes later. "Agreed. I'll coordinate with Pratt. Friday. My office. 5 days." 5 days until every story Brooke had told would face a conference table. I set the phone down and poured a second cup of coffee. My hands were steady. Monday afternoon, Janet called from her office and put me on speaker so I could listen. She had reached Gregory Pratt. The conversation was polite in the way chess is polite, controlled, precise, nothing unnecessary. "Mr. Pratt, I represent Vivian Owens. As you know, my client is co-signer on the mortgage and co-owner on the deed for the property your clients occupy. She is also the sole trustee of the Margaret Owens Family Trust." "I'm aware of the financial structure," Gregory replied carefully. "Then you should also be aware that a deed amendment was submitted to the title company bearing my client's signature, a signature she did not provide. A side-by-side analysis shows clear discrepancies. The bank's fraud department has flagged the document and frozen the pending refinance." Silence. I counted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 seconds. 8 seconds from a man who billed $400 an hour. "Are you saying my client submitted a forged document?" Gregory asked slowly. "I'm saying a document bearing a signature my client did not execute was submitted under her name. The title company and lender have been notified. The bank's investigation is proceeding independently." More silence. Then Gregory's voice tightened. "I'll need to discuss this with my clients." "I recommend doing that quickly," Janet replied, "before the bank's fraud division does it for you." The call ended with a confirmed meeting date for Friday. Janet turned to me. "His pause told me everything. He didn't know about the forged signature." She folded her hands. "That means either your mother didn't tell her lawyer or your mother didn't know. If Donna didn't know, then Brooke had acted alone. She told one person," I said, "me, on a recorded call." Janet's expression shifted, not suspicion, but something closer to satisfaction. "Friday will be interesting." Wednesday evening, I was rinsing dishes when my phone rang. Dad. This time, actually Dad, Vivian. His voice was quieter than I had ever heard it. Not angry, not rehearsed, just tired. "Hi, Dad." "Our lawyer called today. He said there's a problem with the house paperwork. Something about a signature that doesn't match." I let the water run. "He says someone may have signed your name." "That's correct." Pause. I could hear him breathing. "Do you know who did it?" "You should ask Brooke." The breathing stopped. "Brooke?" The form was submitted under her name, authorized family representative, 3 days before Mom left me that voicemail. Silence. Long enough that I checked the call timer. You're sure? I have the submission records. My lawyer has the comparison. The bank has flagged it for fraud. Yes, Dad, I'm sure. Through the phone, I heard a chair creak, as if he had sat down heavily. Let me talk to your mother about this. There it was, the sentence he had repeated my entire life. The deferral. The man who never reached a conclusion before clearing it with Donna. Dad, I'm not asking for permission. I'm not asking you to fix anything. You asked a question, and I answered it. If the family wants to resolve this, it happens Friday. Janet's office, with documentation. Vivian, I love you, Dad, but I'm done talking through walls. I ended the call. The water in the sink had turned cold. What stayed with me wasn't anger. It was the quiet realization of a father understanding, at 59, that the wrong daughter had been believed for years, and that he had never checked. Thursday, Janet's assistant sent the formal notice to Gregory Pratt's office. Meeting Friday, 2 p.m. Attendees: Vivian Owens, Donna Owens, Raymond Owens, Brooke Owens, Janet Aldridge, Gregory Pratt. Janet and I reviewed the structure. If I was going to sit across from my entire family for the first time since the voicemail, the conversation needed rules, not emotion. Rule 1, no raised voices. Any shouting would end the meeting immediately. This was a professional discussion, not a family argument. Rule 2, every claim required documentation. Statements without evidence would not be considered. Rule 3, I would present first, uninterrupted, timeline, facts, and records. Questions afterward. Gregory agreed to all 3 terms within an hour. No objections. That told me something important. His clients needed me more than I needed them. Without my signature and cooperation, they were facing a frozen refinance, expired insurance, a locked trust, and a mortgage they couldn't manage alone. I prepared my folder the way I prepare a client portfolio, organized, labeled, and precise. Tab 1, the spreadsheet, $143,000. Tab 2, the forged signature side by side with the original. Tab 3, the email trail showing Brooke's unauthorized changes to the joint account. Tab 4, the timeline, deed amendment, email change, voicemail, group chat removal, all dated, all documented, and tucked inside the back cover in a small envelope, a USB drive with the recording. I hadn't decided whether to play it. That would depend on what happened in the room, on whether Brooke would tell the truth or whether she'd do what she always did. Marcus texted that evening. Ready for tomorrow? I typed back. Folders packed. Hands are steady. He replied, You don't owe them an explanation. They owe you one. Go get it. I set my alarm for 6 a.m., laid out my clothes, drank chamomile tea, which I hate because someone once told me it helps with nerves. It didn't, but the folder on my nightstand did. Friday, 2 p.m. Janet Aldridge's conference room on the 3rd floor of the brownstone. Glass walls, a long walnut table, 6 leather chairs, and a water pitcher no one would touch. I arrived 10 minutes early, set my folder on the table, aligned the edges. Janet sat to my left, laptop open, notepad ready. Neither of us spoke. The room smelled like printer toner and the faint lemon of whatever the cleaning crew used. At 1:58, the door opened. Mom came in first. Navy blouse, chin high, purse clutched against her ribs like a shield. She looked at me for exactly 1 second, not at my face, but at my folder, then sat in the far chair without a word. Dad followed. Gray polo, hands in his pockets. He glanced at me and something crossed his face. Not quite guilt, not quite shame, something in between that didn't have a name. He sat next to Mom and folded his hands on the table, then Brooke. She walked in last, which was deliberate. She wore a soft pink cardigan over a white shirt. Her eyes were red-rimmed, recently rubbed, maybe actually terror-y. Maybe not. Her lower lip was doing the slight quiver she'd been perfecting since elementary school. She pulled her chair close to Mom's and reached for Mom's hand under the table. The performance was flawless. If you didn't know the script, you'd think she was the victim in this room. Gregory Pratt entered behind her, gray suit, firm handshake with Janet, a brief nod to me. He sat at the end of the table, equidistant from both sides, which was technically neutral and practically useless. Janet opened. Thank you all for being here. This meeting exists to address the financial and legal issues that have arisen in recent weeks. Miss Owens will present first, as agreed by both counsels. She will not be interrupted. I opened the folder, looked up. Made eye contact with my mother for the first time since a voicemail tried to erase me from the family. "I'll start," I said with a number. I slid the spreadsheet to the center of the table. 5 copies, one for each person, one for the record. $143,240. I let the number sit in the air. No one moved. That's what I've contributed to this family over the past 6 years. Mortgage payments on this property, $66,600. Health insurance for mom and dad, $19,200. Brooks' car loan, $5,320. Emergency expenses, surgeries, roof repairs, security deposits, dental bills, the rest. Every payment is documented. Dates, amounts, account records, it's all on this sheet. Mom's eyes moved down the page. I watched her scan each line the way you watch someone read a medical report they weren't expecting. "This is what I gave," I said. "Not as a loan, not under contract, just because I was asked and because I believe that's what family meant." Mom opened her mouth. Janet raised one finger, calm, firm. "Mrs. Owens, you'll have your turn." I pulled the second document from the folder, 2 sheets side by side. I placed them flat on the table and turned them so everyone could read. On the left, my signature from the original mortgage contract dated 3 years ago. On the right, a signature submitted on a deed amendment form requesting my removal from the property title. I paused. I did not sign this form. I did not authorize it. I did not know it existed until I discovered it in my email after being removed from this family by voicemail. Gregory Pratt leaned forward, studying the 2 signatures. His jaw tightened. "The form was submitted electronically," I continued, "by Brooke Owens, listed as authorized family representative." 3 days before the voicemail, the room shifted. Not a sound, more like a barometric change. Dad's hand moved to his forehead. Gregory sat back in his chair slowly. Brooke's grip on Mom's hand tightened. And Mom. Mom looked at the signatures, then at me. Then for the first time since she walked into this room at Brooke. "What is this?" She said someone forged my signature. I said to steal my share of a house I paid for. I didn't say who. I didn't have to. Every eye in the room had already turned. Brooke let go of Mom's hand. "That's not Lohan. That's insane. I didn't forge anything." Her voice climbed. "Vivian is doing what she always does. She's manipulating the situation. She's making herself the victim because she can't handle that." I didn't raise my voice. I didn't need to. Brooke, one word, flat, quiet. It cut through her sentence like a blade through paper. "Before you finish that thought, I want you to hear something." I reached into the back cover of the folder, pulled out the small envelope, and removed the USB drive. Janet's laptop was already connected to a speaker on the table. I plugged it in, found the file, and hovered the cursor over the play button. This is a recording of a phone call between you and me 2 months before the voicemail. The call was disclosed at the start. My app plays an audible notification tone. "If you'd like to dispute its authenticity, Mr. Pratt can have it verified." Brooke's face went white. Not red. White. The kind of white that happens when blood retreats from the surface. I clicked play. The room filled with Brooke's voice. Warm, casual, coaxing. "I just need you out of the trust and off the deed. Then everything gets simpler for everyone." The recording ended. No one moved. I looked at Donna. She was staring at the speaker like it had physically struck her. Her lips were slightly parted. No words. I looked at Dad. His eyes were closed. His hand was still on his forehead. I looked at Gregory Pratt. He had placed his pen on the table and folded his hands, the universal posture of a lawyer recalculating his position. And I looked at Brooke. She was looking at Mom, searching for the lifeline that had always been there, the immediate defense, the "she didn't mean it," the instant redirect of blame onto me. Mom didn't look back. 15 seconds of silence. I counted them the way you count the seconds between lightning and thunder, waiting to learn how close the strike was. It was the loudest my family had ever been. Then Brooke broke. That's out of context. I didn't mean it like that. I was just talking. Just saying things. People say things. Janet's voice was steady as a scalpel. The recording is timestamped 2 months before a forged document bearing Miss Owens' signature was submitted to remove her from the deed. The context, I'd say, is remarkably clear. Brooke turned to Mom again. Her lip trembled. Real this time? Or maybe not. I couldn't tell anymore. Mom, you believe me, right?" She's twisting everything. She always does this. Donna Owens did not look at her younger daughter. She was staring at the spreadsheet, at the column labeled total, at the number at the bottom that represented 6 years of her eldest daughter's life, converted to dollars and cents paid without a single thank you, she said nothing. And in that silence, in that precise, devastating silence, something shifted in the room that could never be shifted back. I closed the folder, slowly. The sound of the cover meeting the back page was the only noise in the room. Donna turned to me. Her voice was different now, smaller. "Vivian, I didn't know about the signature. I swear to you, I didn't know." "I believe you didn't know about the signature, Mom," she exhaled. "But you knew when you recorded that voicemail. You knew when you removed me from the group chat. You knew every time Brooke told you a story about me. And you never once called to ask if it was true. You chose a version that was comfortable, and I paid the price for it. In dollars, in years, in every holiday where I sat at the far end of the table and told myself it was fine." Donna's chin dropped. Not a nod. More like something inside her gave way by a fraction. I stood up. Here's what happens now. I kept my voice even. Professional. The way I deliver a risk assessment to a client when the numbers are bad and there's no soft way to say it. The trust will be transferred to a professional management firm. I'm stepping down as trustee, but the terms Grandma set will be enforced. Education and medical only. No exceptions. I looked at the table. I'm withdrawing as co-signer on the mortgage. You have 60 days to find alternative financing or make a decision about the property. I will not make another payment. I looked at Gregory Pratt regarding the forged signature. I won't be filing a criminal complaint this time, but every document, every recording, every communication has been preserved and is held by my attorney. I looked at Brooke. She was staring at the table. Cardigan pulled tight around her. The reed-eyed performance finally collapsed into something real, or at least something closer to it. "Brooke, I don't hate you, but I don't trust you, and I don't have to." I picked up my folder, nodded once to Janet, walked to the door. Dad's voice cracked and low. "Vivian." I paused with my hand on the handle. Didn't turn around. 60 days, Dad. Use them well." The door clicked shut behind me. My heels echoed down the hallway, steady, even unhurried. I didn't look back, not because I was angry, because there was nothing behind me I hadn't already said. Walking to my car afterward, I wondered if I should have handled it differently, been softer, given them more time, tried one more phone call before pulling everything. Part of me still wanted to believe a conversation could have fixed this. But every conversation for 6 years had ended the same way. Me apologizing for someone else's lie. Would you have given them another chance? Or would you have walked out of that room the same way I did? Tell me. I genuinely want to know. 72 hours after the meeting, the pieces fell exactly where gravity said they would. The house. Without me as co-signer, the family's refinance was permanently dead. The bank sent a formal notice. Donna Owens had 90 days to either resume full mortgage payments on her own, secure a new co-signer with qualifying credit, or face the beginning of foreclosure proceedings. Donna's credit score couldn't carry the loan solo. Not even close. The trust transferred to a licensed fiduciary firm in Philadelphia within 1 week of the meeting. Every dollar accounted for. Every withdrawal now subject to third-party review against Grandma's original terms. Brooke couldn't charm, cry, or forge her way to a cent of it. The insurance, my cancellation notice, took effect on the 30-day mark. Mom and Dad's health coverage lapsed on a Wednesday. By Thursday, Donna was on the phone with the marketplace, learning for the first time what insurance costs when someone else isn't paying for it. Nearly double what I'd been covering. The lawyer, Gregory Pratt, formally withdrew from representing the Owens family 10 days after the meeting. His letter to Donna cited irreconcilable factual discrepancies, polished legal language for your daughter committed fraud, and you didn't tell me. They were now without counsel. And the social narrative, the one Brooke had built so carefully on Facebook, began to crack. After the meeting, the ripple effects were immediate. Aunt Helen called Mom and began asking direct questions. A cousin from Dad's side texted me, "I heard there were forged documents. Is that true?" I didn't reply. I didn't have to. The facts were circulating on their own. This wasn't revenge. I want to be clear about that. I didn't orchestrate a collapse. I simply removed myself from a structure that was standing only because I was supporting it. When I stepped away, It reacted the way any unsupported structure does. It gave out. Not because I pushed it, but because it was never designed to stand independently. 3 weeks after the meeting on a quiet Sunday afternoon, I was reading on my couch, an actual book, paper pages, no screen, when Dad called. His voice sounded worn, stretched thin by too many restless nights. "Vivian, I've been meaning to call." "Hi, Dad." "I want to say I'm sorry. I should have said it earlier. I should have asked questions when your mother sent that voicemail. I should have reviewed the paperwork myself instead of assuming everything was handled." I waited. With Dad, apologies often included a second paragraph. "But, sweetheart, is there any way you could give us more time with the house? Your mother is exploring options, but 90 days? It's not much. If you could extend the cosigner arrangement a few more months until we figure this out." "Dad." He stopped. "I heard the apology. I appreciate it. But I also heard the but. You're not calling just because you're sorry. You're calling because the family needs my signature again." Silence. Then quietly, "Both, Vivian? It's both." "Maybe, but the answer is the same. The 60 days I gave at the meeting still stand. Nothing changes. Your mother is terrified of losing the house. Then Mom should speak with a financial advisor. Not me." Another pause. Then a long, tired exhale. Not the words, but that sound stayed with me. The sigh of someone who knows he's asking the wrong daughter to repair damage caused by the other, yet cannot say it directly. "I understand," he said at last. "Dad?" "Yes? I love you. That hasn't changed. But love doesn't mean I set myself on fire to keep someone else warm. Not anymore." He ended the call without saying goodbye. Just a click, then silence. The same silence that had answered difficult questions my entire life. I set the book down and looked at the ceiling. He had apologized and asked for a favor in the same breath, and I believe he meant both. He just didn't see that one cancels out the other. Or maybe he did. That may be the hardest part. 3 months later, the leaves were gone. The first frost had passed. Philadelphia was doing what it does in January. Cold, gray, persistent. I was sitting in a coffee shop near my office on a Saturday morning. Laptop open but idle. Watching people through the window. An ordinary day. And that was the point. For the first time in my adult life, ordinary felt like a privilege. The $1,850 I used to send each month for the mortgage was now going into my savings account. I had an emergency fund for the first time ever. I was paying down my student loans ahead of schedule. I booked a flight to Portland for a long weekend in February, simply because I wanted to see the ocean. I had never booked a trip just because I wanted to. Brooke and I hadn't spoken since the meeting. No texts, no calls, not even a social media reaction. Complete silence. Out of habit, I checked her Facebook once. She had posted a new update, starting over. No context, no mention of me, the house, or anything else. Just a carefully curated version of her life for an audience that didn't know the full story. I scrolled past it and felt nothing. And that absence, that quiet space where guilt once lived, felt closer to freedom than anything I had experienced before. Mom called once about a month after the meeting. Her tone had changed, not warm, but less sharp. She asked how I was. I said fine. She said okay. The call lasted 90 seconds. No guilt, no request for money, no mention of Brooke. It wasn't reconciliation. It was a ceasefire. For now, that was enough. Dad texted on my birthday. 3 words, "Happy birthday, Vivian." First time in years. No exclamation point, no emoji, just my name and acknowledgement. It was minimal, but it was his. The house sold 6 weeks after the meeting. Donna listed it when it became clear no one would co-sign a new loan. I signed the official paperwork to remove my name from the deed, this time with my real signature. I did not take any proceeds from the sale. The deed listed Donna as primary owner. The equity was hers. I had already calculated the loss, $66,000 in mortgage payments toward a home I never lived in. I wrote it off, not on my taxes, but in my mind. Tuition for the most expensive lesson I've ever learned. Marcus met me for coffee that afternoon. He sat across from me, studied my expression, and asked, "How do you feel?" I took a moment before answering. Lighter, like I put down something I didn't realize I was carrying. He nodded. That was enough. For the first time in 6 years, every dollar I earned was mine. Not mine to give away. Not mine to sacrifice. Not mine to use as proof that I deserved a place at a table I was already paying for. Just mine. Quietly, simply, mine. I'm not sharing this so you'll resent my family. I'm sharing it because somewhere, someone is staring at a transfer confirmation for money they can't afford to send to a person who has never said thank you. And they're telling themselves what I told myself for 6 years. It's fine. They're family. This is what family does. Brooke isn't a monster. She's someone who learned early that dishonesty brings rewards and tears open doors. No one stopped her. No one enforced a consequence that lasted, until that consequence carried my name and involved an attorney. Mom isn't evil. She built her identity around control, around being the center of a family that followed a script she authored. When I stopped following that script, she responded with force because she didn't know another way. That voicemail wasn't cruelty. It was panic disguised as authority. Dad isn't a villain. He's a man who chose silence over conflict for most of his life and eventually realized that silence carries a cost too. He's still learning that. I think he might get there. I hope he does. And me? I'm the woman who finally understood that the word family is not a blank check, that loving someone does not require financing their life while they diminish yours, that boundaries are not punishment. They are truth delivered without apology. I don't know what my family will look like a year from now. I don't know whether there will be a Thanksgiving I attend or a phone call that feels like home. I don't need to know. For the first time, I'm not building my life around their response. So I'll ask you, and I truly want to hear your answer. If the people who were supposed to love you most told you to leave, would you fight to stay? Or would you let them see what life looks like without you? Tell me in the comments. I read them all. Thank you for staying through this entire story. If any part of it felt familiar, if you've ever been the one holding everything together while being told you weren't enough, I see you. Share your experience below. I read every single one. And if you haven't already, subscribe so you don't miss what's next. There's another story linked in the description about someone who was told they would never succeed on their own and proved everyone wrong in the most satisfying way. I'll see you there.